And to tell you the truth, I mean, the media has been manufacturing consent basically for weeks as far as Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren. But what I have seen in the last 72 hours makes me think the media has officially jumped on the Elizabeth Warren bandwagon. They're hedging their bets a little bit. They're not totally throwing in the towel for Joe Biden, but pretty close as far as totally putting all their chips behind Elizabeth Warren. And I want to kind of juxtapose the clip we are seeing with the clips I'm going to show you with Elizabeth Warren, the clips I'm going to show you with Joe Biden, with the General Motors and the United Auto Workers strikers finally fighting back, where Donald Trump, his administration, is set to intervene. Obviously, they're set to intervene. They're saying they're going to jump on the side of the United Auto Workers, who are now striking against General Motors. It's one of the first strikes of auto workers in, I think, over a decade. If you remember, if you're an OG status quoer is on the ground a couple months ago when General Motors laid off 15,000 people. There was no other national media on the ground when General Motors laid off 15,000 people. We were, and we interviewed auto workers, GM workers, Fiat, Chrysler workers. We were on the ground interviewing people thanks to you. So I'm gonna remind you of some of the interviews we did. But what I want to show is that the GM strikes, like the teachers' strikes, like a lot of the strikes we're seeing, Verizon, Nissan workers, is showing you that the working class of this country is awoken. The bear that has been asleep is no longer asleep. And the way to beat Donald Trump, who doesn't give a damn about General Motors workers, is not with this, what I'm about to show you.
Be clear, Joe. In the United States of America, we are spending twice as much per capita on health care as the Canadians or any other major country on earth. This America.
To me, that was one of the most unbelievable moments of the debate. I know that Joe Biden defenders and the establishment will spin it. I know that they're going to say, oh, he was just saying we're not like other countries. We're not like other countries. What Joe Biden was truly saying, what he was truly saying was, this is America. We're about corporate profits. We're about corporate profits. You shouldn't compare America to Canada and other countries that actually have governments that represent people, because this is America. And we don't work that way. And you want to know how I know he meant it? Because did you see the smirk on his face when he said, this is America? Like, oh, Bernie, you communist, this is America. This is America. So, what's unbelievable to me, that barely got any mention, that Joe Biden right there essentially just openly said, this is America. We're not like other sane countries. We're corrupt. And nobody seemed to notice or care that he just acknowledged the corruption rampant, totally rampant. Let's go back to Elizabeth Warren, who was questioned because she's been pretty wish-washy on Medicare for All. She was questioned by the ABC anchor. Let's see what she had to say
about his health care plan. That Senator Sanders has been candid about the fact that middle-class taxes are going to go up and most of private insurance is going to be eliminated. Will you make that same admission?
So let's be clear about health care, and let's actually start where Vice President did. We all owe a huge debt to President Obama, who fundamentally transformed health care in America and committed this country to health care for every human being. And now the question is, how best can we improve on it? And I believe the best way we can do that is we make sure that everybody gets covered by health care at the lowest possible cost. How do we pay for it? We pay for it. Those at the very top, the richest individuals and the biggest corporations, are going to pay more. And middle-class families are going to pay less. That's how this is going to work.
direct question. You said middle-class families are going to pay less, but will middle-class taxes go up to pay for the program? I know you believe that the deductibles and the premiums will go down. Will middle-class taxes go up? Will private insurance be eliminated?
Look, what families have to deal with is cost, total cost. That's what they have to deal with. And understand, families are paying for their health care today. Families pay every time an insurance company says, sorry, you can't see that specialist. Every time an insurance company says, sorry, that doctor is out of network. Sorry, we are not covering that prescription. Families are paying every time they don't get a prescription filled because they can't pay for it. They don't have a lump checked out because they can't afford the copay. What we're talking about here is what's going to happen in families' pockets, what's going to happen in their budgets. And the answer is on Medicare for All. Costs are going to go up for wealthier individuals, and costs are going to go up for giant corporations. But for hard-working families across this country, costs are going to go down, and that's how it should work.
Why I played that is Elizabeth Warren right now is kind of pulling back. You know, she's kind of reviving a little Obama 2007, 2008. It all sounds wonderful. It all sounds terrific, but it's vague enough to give her wiggle room after the fact if elected president. Why that answer is just disingenuous is the fact that first of all, there is no such thing as the middle class, and I hate that it keeps being talked about. There is no middle class anymore. There's a working class, and there's a controlled demolition of the working class. But putting that aside, when Elizabeth Warren says what's going to pay for Medicare for All is Wall Street taxes and wealthy people, that's just not true. Bernie is being honest by saying, yes, like in every other country that has a single-payer Medicare system, your taxes will be increased a little bit, but overall, your income will go down. But Elizabeth Warren doesn't want to admit that on Medicare for All, your taxes would go up, because she's trying to be everything to everybody, and she's trying to make everything sound so great. I have a plan, I have a plan, I have a plan. But the consultants around her, and frankly, she's getting a lot of money from the usual suspects. And the Clinton people are starting more and more to move away from Kamala Harris and go to Elizabeth Warren. So her answer, it's not as bad as Joe Biden, don't get me wrong, but that your overall costs will go down, yes. But to wiggle out of the answer that your taxes will go up to pay for the Medicare for All system, but overall the tax increases that you will see will be less, significantly less, than the cost savings you have. So in one breath, she's saying overall costs will go down, but she doesn't want voters to know that under Medicare for All, yes, you would pay a little bit more in taxes. You want to know why I don't think she's putting that out there? Because I don't think she actually believes in Medicare for All, down to her bones. You know, she said, I'm a capitalist to my bones. I don't think she actually believes in Medicare for All, and I don't really think Medicare for All, if she becomes the nominee, or if she became president, is something she's, as a priority, going to fight for the way Bernie Sanders would. If it was, she would be open about the fact, yes, Wall Street, to fund Medicare for All, there will be increases in taxes on Wall Street speculation. Corporations will pay more, but that's part of it. The system we are going to pay into by having our taxes go up slightly. However, overall, the savings we will see means overall costs will go down. She won't acknowledge that. And if you won't be honest, you're basically trying to tell voters what they want to hear. You're basically trying to make it seem like you're going to get this great thing to the voter, but you're not going to have to pay anything more. Well, you will have to pay something more. But that something more you pay in taxes, like I said, will be far less than the savings of no copays, no deductibles, no car insurance, no hidden costs. But that wasn't the only time she dodged that answer. That wasn't the only time she dodged that. Let's hear what she said in an interview with CNN. And honestly, if this was Bernie Sanders, they would murder Bernie Sanders if he was this slippery. But Elizabeth Warren, who I have a plan for everything but is dodging on this, gets away with it. Here we go.
Could you do what you want to do with all your plans and not have a tax on the middle class?
Sure.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, look, I've got a housing bill that'll build 1.2 million new housing units, fully paid for.
No tax on the middle class for any of it.
Corporate investment, a green, nope. And I just came out with Social Security plan today. $200 increase across the board for everyone who gets Social Security and everybody who gets disability payments. It will literally lift millions of people out of poverty. And you know who's going to pay for it? The top 2%. This is about our country. We need to get some balance back in this. You know, let me just make one small pitch. We know from the data that the 99% last year paid about 7.2% of their total wealth in taxes. The top 1%, they paid about 3.2%. If we call on them to pay a little more and then take that money and invest it in the rest of America, we can make this economy work for everyone. Not just some, but for everyone. And we can make this democracy work for everyone.
There's no other way for me to say that. And I'm not trying to be unfair to Elizabeth Warren. Listen, the facts are the facts. She had a massive, massive crowd in Washington Square Park last night. I'm not taking that away from her. She is getting fairly big crowds. I don't know if it was 20,000 people. I wasn't there because I'm working on this investigative story. But she is doing well. She had a big crowd in Minnesota. She had a big crowd in Seattle. So she does have people behind her. She does have momentum, and she's competitive in the polls. They've tried to make it seem like she's taken the lead over Bernie Sanders. That's just not backed up in the majority of polls. But when she's sitting in an interview with Chris Cuomo, when the anchor is saying, you're going to be able to do all of this, and no taxes aren't going to go up at all. Nope. Well, that's just bullshit. Excuse my French. Demonetized. That's just not true. Taxes would go up. But taxes would go up, like I said, at a rate that would be far less than the savings you would have from the Medicare For All. So Elizabeth Warren is trying to, like Kamala Harris originally, she's trying to have her cake and eat it too. She's trying to seem very progressive, sign on to the policies Bernie Sanders has spearheaded. I'm not saying she's lying like Joe Biden is lying or Kamala Harris is lying. I don't think it's to that degree. But what I do think is she's trying to be everything to everybody, and she's not being completely intellectually honest. So if you want to call that a lie, fine. When you're saying taxes won't go up, but you're still going to get Medicare for all, that's a lie. It's a lie. Now, your taxes will go up, but yes, you're going to save overall more because the tax increases will be far less than the cost savings. So you'll save more money from getting rid of private insurance than the tax increases you will see. But she's not making that argument. She's not making an honest argument. What she's doing is trying to make you think she's for capital M Medicare for All, Bernie's plan, even though, by the way, on her website, you know, this I have a plan for everything, that's what the media has made her to be. She's so specific. She's got great proposals, all this. Her healthcare section does not say a word about ending private insurance. Well, you're saying your Medicare for All plan, you won't see middle-class taxes will not go up. And on your website, which has all your plans, you don't have ending private insurance, which you're going to have to, if not end, essentially completely neutralize and far significantly diminish private insurance to have Medicare for All work. You cannot be saying in front of 20,000 people in Washington Square Park in New York City, which she had 20,000 people according to her campaign. There was a lot of people there. I don't know if it was 20,000, but a lot of people. How are you sitting there talking about corruption this, going after corruption? The root of all evils is American corruption. But, I mean, I've reported on this. She's going around the country having hot tea with the establishment. She's having meetings with leaders of the corporate Democratic establishment that is totally rampant in that corruption she's saying that she's going to fight. Bernie Sanders is not. Now, some of you might say, and frankly, God bless her, she might be watching, I love you. My girlfriend might be watching, who, God bless her, she's a Warren supporter. Also likes Bernie, but she's a Warren supporter. We have wonderful, loving fights about it all the time. And bottom line, some people like her might say, well, God forbid she's being a politician and trying to get endorsements. Well, if you're sitting here ranting about corruption and you're saying the money is the problem, yet you're going around the country playing footsie with the very people embedded in that corrupt system, how are we to take you seriously? If during an interview with the Young Turks, my old stomping grounds, you're asked about, will you take the corporate money? And you're sitting here saying, during the primary, absolutely not. Money is awful. But during the general election, well, we can't unilaterally disarm. How are you to be trusted? How are you to be trusted? Because if you're making if you're already making those little deals with yourself, those little rationalizations that, yeah, you know, I'll deal with the corruption later, I'll deal with the money in politics later, but I got to win. So during the general election, yeah, I'll take the money. Even though by the fact, forget whether it's ethical or moral or not to take that money. It's not necessary. If you're with a Democratic nominee, you're going to have and actually stick to your progressive roots, you're going to have a flood of money come in trying to support you. Elizabeth Warren has made a different calculation, a far, far different calculation. And I think it's a cynical one, because you can't have it both ways. You're either against the money in politics, you're either against legalized bribery, you're either against having big dollar donors and corporations and super PACs basically decide policy and decide what will happen in America and decide what will not happen in America, or you're not. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.